Stop it! Don't open that door!
What is it?
Since video games are a visual and interactive medium, the amount of lines a player is digesting is significantly smaller than those watching a movie, so it's really important to use your words wisely. Your writing should always be serving a purpose, and unfortunately for game writing, a big portion of the lines are simply giving the player instructions. We need to get to that tower, or sorry, the princess is in another castle. Also, other than cutscenes as the outlier, you shouldn't be writing huge blocks of text for the player to take in, because guess what? The player just skipped most of it. Most writing needs to be broken up if you're going to info dump on people, interspersed with maybe something another character says in reaction, or a dialogue option. Most lines of writing that can't be skipped shouldn't be longer than a few sentences without some kind of transition or interaction from the player. The most common way to break up large amounts of text is to simply have the player press a button to continue to the next line. It's an easy and sometimes elegant fix, and it's a lot better than scrolling through paragraphs of I don't give a damn. Now that I've covered the how, let's talk about what you should be actually including in your game. Writing is definitely a balancing act. Add too little, people won't know what's going on. Add too much, and they lose interest. People are fickle, so it's important to just get to the point, which leads to the first rule: no fluff writing. How's the weather today, Frank? Well, John, since the game takes place entirely indoors, I don't care. Ask yourself these questions about your writing. Does it progress the story forward or give instruction? Does it tell me more about the world and its lore? And lastly, does it add character development? If you answered yes to any of these questions, you're on the right track. If you answered no to all of them, you're probably writing a fluff piece that doesn't need to be there. But Ghost, what if my character likes to talk about mundane things that aren't relevant? Well, fellow writer, if I'm learning more about the character's personality, then it's probably okay. A lot of characters tell jokes, but just remember, it has to reinforce them as a person. Don't just have a character say something funny because you came up with a clever joke. Really consider what the character would say, and if it's important enough for the player to know, write it in.
Sorry, love. This isn't a movie. And you're not the plucky girl who reforms the villain and saves the day. It's just not done like that.
You're going to find exceptions everywhere, but as long as you use the questions to filter out what's important and what's not, you're going to be on the right track.
Trust me.
Now, let's say you got a lot of information to tell the player, but you don't know when to share it. Well, depending on what the information is, transitional gameplay is a great time to let your writing shine.
Close. You're the boarding party. More like the falling in traffic party. You'll be fine.
If you and another character are traveling from point A to point B, and the trip isn't filled with complicated gaming challenges, add some conversation, talk about the world, talk about the characters, the narrative. Grand Theft Auto and Uncharted take full advantage of this downtime to enrich their world further. Not traveling with another character? Have your protagonist comment about what's happening and what they're thinking. The more relevant lines you can add to your narrative, the better. Another way to add a lot of writing is to add descriptions or notes to your game. Skyrim has dozens of books you can read. The Last of Us has reading the environment to find secrets. And Dark Souls adds tidbits of knowledge in many of their item descriptions. This is a good place to throw in your blocks of text if you wanted. Since it's not required to read extra things, you're not going to piss off players when they're choosing to read additional lore. The next big rule of writing is to stay consistent with the mood and pacing of your story. You don't want to bog down the game with a lot of text during an action scene, and you definitely don't want the comic relief cracking a joke when the game's trying to be emotional. This is probably the hardest part of writing in general and requires you to really take your time and think about what's appropriate for the player to hear in that moment. If a scene or line feels cringy, then more often than not, the writing is not matching the tone of what's going on. Take a look at Lara from the Tomb Raider reboot. In cutscenes, she seems fragile and emotional, yet during the gameplay, you're mowing down people in the dozens. I found myself laughing at many of the scenes because of how hollow they rang. Lastly, I want to talk about character development and making interesting characters, because most games, wow, they're bad. They're so bad. A friend of mine once said, if you want to nail that interview, try making them laugh. You'll stand out more that way. The same exact advice can be applied to writing characters. All you need is one good line, whether it makes you smile, laugh, or cry. Any emotional reaction they can get out of the player is an instant win.
Where did you get the money for this?
Drugs. I sell hardcore drugs.
Oh, good. You started helping out with the mortgage then.
Want to go a step further? Be edgy and kill them. Aunt May from Spider-Man, Sarah from The Last of Us, Taka from Ghost of Tsushima, all specifically designed to make you like them just to get an emotional reaction out of you when the writer kills them off. You might think it's cheap, but it often resonates quite a bit with the player, and those games are often showered with praise for their strong and impactful narrative. So to recap, avoid large paragraphs, don't write a bunch of fluff, stay consistent, and kill your favorite character.